The lobby. In The Matrix, there's a moment where the movie stops pretending to be a sci-fi thriller and becomes one of the greatest action sequences ever filmed. Neo and Trinity walk into a government building to rescue Morpheus. They're dressed in black. They're carrying enough weapons to start a small war, and they have absolutely no intention of being quiet about it. The second those metal detectors go off, all hell breaks loose. Neo pulls open his trench coat and reveals an entire arsenal strapped to his body. The guards don't even get a chance. Bullets fly, concrete pillars shatter into dust, marble walls get torn apart, and spent shell casings rain onto the floor like confetti. The Wachowskis shot this with a level of precision that made every single bullet feel intentional. And Trinity isn't just standing around. She's running up walls, delivering spinning kicks, and clearing rooms with the same terrifying calm as Neo. By the time the dust settles, the entire ground floor looks like a war zone. Pillars reduced to stumps, ceiling caving in, and the two of them just walk toward the elevator like nothing happened. This scene changed action movies forever. The bullet time technology, the choreography influenced by Hong Kong cinema, the sheer audacity of the visual style. Hollywood spent the next decade trying to replicate it. Nobody ever quite matched it. That is cinema. The truck flip. In The Dark Knight, the Joker decides to assassinate Harvey Dent while he's being transported through Gotham in an armored convoy. What follows is one of the most intense chase sequences in movie history. The Joker's crew attacks with bazookas, shotguns, and a massive 18-wheeler, tearing through police escorts like they're made of cardboard. Batman shows up on the Batpod, weaving between vehicles, firing cables, and trying to stop the truck before it reaches the convoy. The tension keeps building because you genuinely don't know if he's going to make it. And then it happens. Batman fires a cable between two lampposts. The wire goes taut, and the Joker's entire 18-wheeler flips forward, nose over tail, and slams into the pavement. Christopher Nolan flipped a real truck on a real street in downtown Chicago. No CGI. They built a massive steam piston underneath the trailer and launched it while IMAX cameras captured every frame. When you see that truck go vertical, you are watching something that physically happened in the real world. And then the Joker walks out of the wreckage, barely scratched, firing a machine gun at the Batpod. When Batman barrels straight toward him, the Joker doesn't move, doesn't flinch, he just stands there. One of the greatest villain moments ever put on screen. The helicopter. In Mission Impossible Fallout, Tom Cruise decided that regular stunts weren't enough anymore, so he learned to fly a helicopter, not in a simulator, not with a safety pilot doing the hard parts. He actually learned to pilot a helicopter, and then performed an aerial chase through the mountains of New Zealand, including spiraling dives, near-miss cliff maneuvers, and a full-speed collision with another helicopter. The camera is mounted right inside the cockpit, and you can see Cruise's face the entire time, his hands on the controls, his eyes tracking the terrain, every sharp turn, every dive between rock walls. That is a real human being, doing things that professional pilots called genuinely reckless. At one point, Cruise spirals the helicopter straight down a cliff face in a controlled freefall, pulls up at the last possible second, and clips the side of a mountain. The helicopter spins, crashes into a ridge, and Cruise has to climb out while it slides toward the edge. All practical, all real. This is the reason people say Tom Cruise is either the bravest or the most insane actor alive. And honestly, after watching this, the answer is clearly both. The hallway. In Inception, there's a fight scene that breaks every rule of action filmmaking. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is fighting inside a hotel corridor. Normal enough, right? Except the dream level above is collapsing, which means gravity is shifting in every direction. The hallway starts rotating. Walls become the floor. The ceiling becomes a wall. And Arthur has to fight hand-to-hand while the entire world spins around him. Christopher Nolan built a real rotating hallway, an actual physical set that spun on a massive axis while the actors were strapped inside. Gordon-Levitt trained for weeks to learn how to fight, while the room literally turned upside down. Every stumble, every moment where he pushes off a wall that was the ceiling 2 seconds ago, that's real physics affecting a real person. The scene is beautiful and disorienting at the same time. Your brain tries to figure out which way is down, and it just can't. All the while, Arthur is fighting for his life against someone equally confused, which makes the combat feel messy and desperate in the best way possible. This is the kind of action sequence that only works because a director was crazy enough to build it for real, and that's what makes it unforgettable. The Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road is not a movie with action scenes. It is an action scene. The entire film is essentially one long chase across a post-apocalyptic desert, and every single frame is operating at a level of insanity that should not be physically possible. George Miller was 70 years old when he directed this, A 70-year-old man went to the Namibian desert and orchestrated real cars exploding, real stunt performers swinging on giant metal poles between moving vehicles, and a guy playing a flame-throwing electric guitar on top of a truck made of amplifiers. That last part is not a joke. That is a real thing in this movie. Man, when I first saw that guitarist, I had to pause the movie and just process what I was looking at. The Polecat sequence alone is worth the price of admission. War boys swinging across the convoy on flexible metal poles, grabbing people off trucks at full speed. Real performance, real poles, real vehicles. 80% of the stunts were done practically. The coordination required to pull this off without killing someone is mind-blowing. Fury Road won 6 Academy Awards. An action movie about cars blowing up in a desert won 6 Oscars. That tells you everything you need to know. The Apartment. In Spider-Man No Way Home, the fight between Peter Parker and the Green Goblin reaches a point that made audiences go dead silent. After the Goblin takes away someone Peter loves, the kid snaps. Not Spider-Man snaps. Peter Parker snaps. There's a difference, and you feel it in every single hit. The two of them crash through an apartment building, floor by floor, wall by wall. The camera shakes. Every punch sounds like concrete splitting apart. Peter is fueled by pure rage, throwing punches that are meant to end this permanently. No quips, no humor, just raw, unfiltered anger from a character we've watched grow up across 3 movies. And then, Willem Dafoe does the thing that makes him one of the greatest villains in movie history. While Peter is beating the life out of him, the Goblin starts laughing. You realize Peter isn't winning. The Goblin is. Because every punch Peter throws brings him closer to becoming something he can never come back from. Absolute masterclass in villain writing. The Red Circle. In the original John Wick, there's a scene at the Red Circle nightclub that single-handedly changed modern action cinema. Wick walks into the club looking for the man who killed his dog, and what follows is a symphony of perfectly choreographed violence that made audiences realize they'd been watching sloppy action movies their entire lives. Keanu Reeves trained for months in a fighting style called Gun Fu, blending tactical firearms handling with close-quarters martial arts. Every shot, every reload, every transition, from gun to fist to grapple, is executed with surgical precision. He shoots a guy, runs out of ammo, grabs the enemy, flips him, draws a new weapon, and keeps moving without breaking rhythm. Long, unbroken takes, so you can actually see what's happening. No shaky cam, no rapid cuts. Just pure, clean, devastating action. But the real genius of John Wick is the world around it. The Continental Hotel, the gold coins, the code, the fact that every person in the underworld knows exactly who this man is and is terrified of him. That mythology makes the action hit 10 times harder.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
The Steel Mill. In Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the T-1000 chases John Connor through a Los Angeles canal in an 18-wheeler, a liquid metal killing machine driving a massive truck, chasing a 12-year-old kid on a dirt bike. James Cameron actually sent that truck through the canal at dangerous speeds with a real kid on a real bike out front. The 90s were genuinely unhinged, but it's the Steel Mill finale that earns this spot. The T-800 and the T-1000 fight in a molten steel factory. Rivers of liquid metal, sparks and flames everywhere. The T-1000 morphs through metal grating, reforms after being frozen and shattered, and keeps coming no matter what. Robert Patrick played the role with this cold, mechanical precision that made every scene with him unsettling. He doesn't run, he walks. And somehow, that's scarier. The visual effects were revolutionary for 1991, and they still hold up today. The moment the T-1000 walks through the prison bars for the first time, audiences genuinely lost their minds. Nothing like that had ever been put on screen before. And then, the ending. Arnold's T-800 lowers himself into the molten steel to destroy the last remaining chip. He gives John a thumbs up as he sinks. And the toughest action movie of the decade suddenly makes you cry. That's the mark of something legendary. The Drug Lab. If you have never seen The Raid, stop what you're doing and watch it right now. This Indonesian martial arts film has a premise so simple, it fits in one sentence. A SWAT team enters a high-rise controlled by a drug lord and has to fight their way up floor by floor. That's it. And it is one of the most intense action movies ever made. The martial art featured is Pencak Silat, and the way it's captured on camera is otherworldly. People get thrown through walls, slammed into door frames, stabbed with broken fluorescent tubes, and beaten with a ferocity that makes most Hollywood action look like a pillow fight. The choreography by Iko Uwais and Yayan Ruhian is so tight that each fight tops the last in ways you didn't think were possible. The 2-on-1 fight in the drug lab near the end is widely considered one of the greatest hand-to-hand combat scenes ever filmed. Two brothers fighting a seemingly invincible killer in a cramped room. Nearly 5 minutes of perfect choreography. By the time it ends, you're physically exhausted just from watching. The Raid proved you don't need a massive budget. You need talented performers, a fearless director, and the willingness to push the human body to its absolute limits. Seriously, if this is not on your watch list, fix that today. The Crazy 88. In Kill Bill, Volume 1, Quentin Tarantino turned revenge into an art form. Uma Thurman's The Bride walks into a Japanese nightclub to kill O-Ren Ishii. Standing between her and her target is an entire army of sword-wielding fighters called the Crazy 88. What happens next is one of the most iconic action sequences in cinema history. The Bride takes them all on, with a Hattori Hanzo sword, blood sprays and stylized geysers. Tarantino switches between color and black and white photography mid-fight, creating a visual rhythm that is completely hypnotic. The choreography shifts between brutal realism and balletic grace, set to this incredible Japanese-inspired soundtrack that makes every slash feel like part of a symphony. And after all that chaos, all that blood, the final showdown with O-Ren happens in a quiet snow garden. The contrast is staggering. From the loudest, most chaotic fight you've ever seen to a silent duel in falling snow where every footstep feels deliberate. Tarantino understood that real tension doesn't come from volume. It comes from what you take away. Every frame of that fight is a work of art. Kill Bill is a love letter to martial arts cinema, spaghetti westerns, and grindhouse films, all filtered through one of the most distinctive creative voices in Hollywood, absolute cinema. The Bare Feet. Die Hard works because John McClane is not a superhero. He's a New York cop visiting his estranged wife in Los Angeles for Christmas. He's tired, annoyed, and barefoot when the terrorists take over Nakatomi Plaza. Barefoot on broken glass for the rest of the movie. Bruce Willis made this character iconic because he gets hurt. He bleeds. He limps. He pulls glass out of his own feet and wraps them in torn cloth. Every action has a physical cost, and you feel the accumulation of pain as the movie progresses. He's not winning because he's stronger or smarter. He's winning because he absolutely refuses to stop. Alan Rickman, as Hans Gruber, is the other half of what makes this perfect. Sophisticated, calculating, always one step ahead. The back and forth between them over the radio is some of the best dialogue in any action film. Two men who are nothing alike, trapped in the same building, playing a deadly chess game where one mistake ends everything. The rooftop explosion, the elevator shaft escape, the barefoot sprint across shattered glass. Every set piece builds on the last. Die Hard didn't just create the template for the modern action movie. It perfected it on the first try. And yes, it's a Christmas movie. Don't even try to argue. The Alien Queen. James Cameron took Ridley Scott's slow burn horror masterpiece and turned it into the greatest action horror hybrid ever made. In Aliens, Sigourney Weaver returns as Ellen Ripley, this time accompanied by a squad of colonial marines heading back to the planet where she first encountered the xenomorphs. What they find is an entire colony overrun by hundreds of creatures, and what follows is 2 hours of pure, relentless terror. The tension is suffocating, the motion trackers beeping faster, the ammunition running lower, Marines getting picked off one by one in the darkness. When the action finally explodes, it hits with the force of a freight train. The initial ambush in the hive, where the Marines realize they're completely surrounded, is one of the most chaotic and terrifying combat sequences in film history. But Ripley is what makes this legendary. When she straps that pulse rifle and flamethrower combo to her body, tapes them together, and marches into the alien nest alone to rescue Newt, she becomes the most iconic action hero in science fiction. Full stop. No debate. And then the Alien Queen shows up. Ripley climbs into the power loader, squares up against a creature twice her size, and delivers the line.
Get away from her, you bitch!
The entire theater screamed. That moment is the single greatest payoff in action movie history. Aliens didn't just raise the bar for action sequels. It built a whole new bar, and nearly 4 decades later, absolutely nothing has topped it. That is cinema.